A few recent developments both in Baton Rouge and in Florida are having an impact on agriculture across the Bayou State. To find out more about these developments and what's happening at the state capitol this week, we now turn to This Week in Louisiana Agriculture's Avery Davidson. Avery?
Mike, as you know, this is the time of year when there's a lot of activity in agriculture and a lot of activity with state government and agriculture. Joining me now is Louisiana Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry, Dr. Mike Strain. Dr. Strain, first, I hate to do this, but I've got to get the unpleasantries out of the way. A legislative audit came out speaking to the Lacassine Syrup Mill that the state has lost upwards of $80 million of investment in that. What are your thoughts on that audit?
Well, and we've agreed with most of everything that's in that audit. We've been actually working with the legislative auditor over a period of years, developing all the data so we have a thorough understanding of what happened. This goes back to 2003, and that facility was built in 2006 and sold in 2006. And so when you look at this, now what we have to do is determine how we are going to try to maximize and recover as many of the state dollars as we can. As you know, that the current operators are in default. In other words, they have not paid for the mill, and we're in the process now of taking that back. We're also in a process of working with a number of banks, specifically Jeff Davis Bank and Hancock Bank, who has sold bonds as the trustee from Merrill Lynch on loan guarantees, so that you have to add that into the the purchase price of the mill. And those guarantees were backed by the Market Commission and with the Agriculture Finance Authority. So I have to make good on those guarantees and also to stop basically those entities from seizing the mill. So there's a whole number of issues going on at the same time. I've been working with the creditors so that we can try to set up a type of payment where we can keep all of that in good faith until we can remarket the mill. And then what our intentions are is to remarket the mill, one, as a package deal, the whole mill, to remarket that and maximize the dollars there. That will be a very public process. If that is not possible, then we will do it by components. And so we're going to be working through that. We're going to try to make the very best out of what we can with what we have.
And now turning to something that's a little more pleasant, the recent court ruling in federal court concerning H-2B wage increases, that's on hold, but for another number that we've just heard, 60 days. Tell me a little bit about how that's going to affect Louisiana farmers.
If you've been watching what's going on in Florida, and again, the federal courts in Florida put a 60-day stay on the H-2B. And of course, those wage prices will come into effect in October. There's 60 days on the procedure itself. And if you read the procedure, it's 500 pages. I mean, it's huge. And when you start looking at some of these new procedures, they're just, number one, if you have to provide and pay for transportation for someone to come in and take the job. They don't have to stay there. You just have to pay for. So if someone is in California and wants to say, I want that job, you got to pay to fly them out for that job. Two, you have to guarantee 75% of the total contract. You can't bring them here and you can't lay them off. There's a number of whole things there that make this almost unworkable as far as procedure. And then you have a wage increase of 30 to 100%. When you look at how it's going to affect Louisiana, it's going to have a $19 to $25 million negative impact. And when you start talking about the H-2B, these are guest workers. These are legal guest workers that come back year after year. We used to bring in about 360,000. Now we're bringing in less than 35,000 legal guest workers. And in Louisiana, it's about 3,800, but they do highly specialized things. They peel crawfish. They plant cane. They're out there, they're working in the sugar mills. They're doing jobs that Americans will not do. I mean, the Americans have the first shot at these jobs, but this work must get done. It's very simple. If these jobs aren't done, right, then commerce slows down. It cripples commerce. And so the reason you have a guest worker program is to fill those jobs that Americans cannot or will not do. And so that's the purpose of this. And so as you see a lot of things going on in Washington, you also had a stay against the EPA coming out of the federal courts. And it's that we're trying to get a handle on the federal agencies, and the courts now, the federal courts are starting to react. And also in the Congress, you see a number of bills being filed to correct some of these problems and to deal with these particular issues. We've been working hard, through the commissioners and secretaries of agriculture across the United States. We want to separate the guest worker program from the immigration, separate those two issues, and let's define and let's create a nice, strong, positive, well-done guest worker program, and separate that from the immigration issues, because we need that. And especially when you're looking at the hand labor that has to be done on a lot of our farms.
moving from federal government to state government. We're here at the Louisiana State Capitol right now. You're obviously here because you're interested in some of the bills going on. How are things going this legislative session for agriculture?
Well, very good. We have 24 bills in play in our department, and most all of them are now moving to the final stages of passage. They've crossed the chambers, and of course we're getting them through, and then they will be sent to the governor. Today, there are hearings before Senate and Governmental Affairs where our officers, the officers of LDAF, have to be confirmed by the Senate, and that's the Deputy Commissioner and Assistant Commissioners. So we're going through that process. Last night we were here to after 8 o'clock dealing with the budget. Now House Bill 1 will start moving to the full floor. Now some of the issues there, Revenue Estimating Committee came back and said we're $220 million short in this fiscal year, which we have 2 months left, and another $320 million less than they had anticipated for next fiscal year. So you take the budget that was already reduced by $900 million, now you add that, so now you're at $1.4 billion. And to put on top of that the fund sweep bill, that was around $300 million. So all those things are in play, and the funds bill was diminished, and so that cut out further money from the appropriation bill, which must be reduced because there simply aren't the dollars in the Treasury. When you start looking at the amount of money coming into the Treasury, the amount of money available for government, you saw where corporate income taxes are down by almost 85%. And some of that, we've given, in 2008, in early 2008, we had about $950 million in tax credits. Now it's up to $1.4 billion. So that money is not available. That's about $500–600 million there, not available to the Treasury. Plus, the overall status of our economy has not been getting better. And if you've seen, we've had budget cuts every 6 months now since '08. And so we're going to be dealing with that.
I know it's going to be another tough hit for you and another tough year. Thank you very much, Commissioner of
Thank you.
Agriculture and Forestry, Dr.
Thank
Mike
you.
Strain. So, Mike, obviously, with so much going on here at the Capitol, we will keep you abreast of it and make sure you stay informed with everything that's going on. Back to you.
Avery Davidson, thanks.